Welcome to IT Mastermind Talks, your access to insights and experiences from thought leaders in the IT services industry and those that support the industry. Our podcast features not only the seasoned professionals charting their start to exit journey, but also the key contributors who help ensure their success. We delve into the diverse challenges encountered within the IT services realm, encompassing both professional hurdles and personal obstacles. Join us, be part of our growing community, and engage in the conversation. Hosted by Ian Markrim of LoadingGrowth.
Good afternoon, and today we've got Nicholas Gee on from Cloud Ready Solutions. Been working with him in the past, and he's got a unique business model, which I love to share today. It's something that I tried to do at some stage, maybe 12 years ago. I had some success in that type of business model, but Nicholas and his team have actually been working at it quite hard for the last couple of years. Anyway, I'm just going to ask Nick to basically give himself a quick 2-minute introduction, and then we're going to go into his background and what got him to his IT sector, and then from there, what his actual business does. So Nick, welcome on the show today.
Thanks for having me, Ian. This is it's a bit of a first for me, but that's great to be invited. Yeah, I'm Nicholas Gee. I'm a co-founder of Cloud Ready Solutions, and we are a specialist distributor looking after Australia, a little bit of New Zealand, Pacific Islands quite significantly. And our focus is on protecting business data with backup, disaster recovery, and storage solutions, and really specialize on the solutions that some of the big disties don't bring to the region. So some very specialist products. Recently, we've adapted a few new vendors. So we've just brought on Keepit, the number one SaaS backup platform in the world. And we have got a new product, a new relationship with Stonefly, offer immutable storage for various backup solutions. So we've really introduced some new technology that is very exciting in the last 12 months.
Brilliant. So Nick, let's just go back to where it all started. I mean, it's been a while, obviously you're from the UK originally, but can you tell us how you got into the tech sector?
I think probably back in the day, in the 80s and 90s, I was like many boys of that age. I was in a bedroom gamer on PCs, and really for better experience, basically you'd end up upgrading your PC. And basically I spent all my saving money on buying video cards, new motherboards, everything you could buy, and building PCs. And now, build one PC and, you play on it, and then watch Links 386, draw and say, I need a new video card and upgrade, and really got me into that techie world. I also was downloading illegal copies of things like, remember Chicago?
Yes.
Go down Chicago, Windows 95, early versions. And I was running Windows 95 essentially for a year or two before it was released. So I knew it quite well. And it kind of got me a bit of an advantage when I actually finished my degree. I was doing electrical engineering and computing, I suppose, by the time I actually went into the workforce, and ended up moving to Ireland. Back in the UK in that time, there wasn't a lot of opportunities in my area. So I went to Ireland, and it was the age of the Celtic Tiger, and just work everywhere. So I initially started working for a company called Gateway 2000, and suddenly Windows 95 was launched. And I was an expert at it that, really knew it inside out. So I was in tech support, and I got elevated to senior tech, and then eventually to lab technician, and you got familiar with Windows NT. It was a nice, easy way to get a career started by jumping over to Dublin.
Fantastic.
It's only a half-hour flight away.
So Gateway 2000, I actually bought some of that stuff when I was in the UK, because they were the ones that came out with the cheap PCs, and the white ones, very white, weren't they?
Yeah, that's right. The black and white cow logos. You remember those?
Yeah, that's right.
And it was a great company. It was like a club. There's such young people, thousands of young people with, you got the marketing department, your customer service department, and they have big events. So it was really good. They did have to rebrand as Gateway. It wasn't really a very very good foresight when they named it Gateway 2000. So that was good. And I think, got some good experience there. Nice people, learned quite a lot. And then eventually I followed quite a few people that moved to a company called Corel, if you know Corel Corporation, or Corel Draw, Corel Draw.
Yes.
WordPerfect, Corel Draw.
That's right.
And I went there as the title was MIS Project Manager. And I knew nothing about project management. And I was, 23, I think, then. And I eventually got promoted to MIS Manager. So we're looking after all these servers and routers, and really had no clue what I was doing, but I'd learn quick. And that was huge. That was a great opportunity. So I traveled a little bit around Europe and went to Canada a few times. And so it introduced me to like the corporate junket kind of thing. So it was again, a fantastic job. I even got a company car. I got a little MX-5, Mazda MX-5 company car. Nice. I lived about 1.5 kilometers away from the office, and about a parking space under the building. And it really was crazy. Just the Celtic Tiger was.
Yeah, it was going gangbusters then.
I
remember a lot of IT moved to Ireland at that stage.
Absolutely.
So it's all the tax breaks and all the incentives that the government was giving at the time. Really, really amazing what they did there, to be honest. I remember the property prices is going gangbusters as well.
Absolutely. I looked at properties and I was horrified by the cost of places in and around Dublin compared to the northwest of England and in Manchester, like 3 times the price for. Anyway,
so from there, where did you go progress to?
Well, I was at Corel for several years, and we eventually, obviously, Corel were up against Microsoft, which is not a great position to be in, and they eventually decided to close the Dublin office. So myself and a lot of my colleagues were made redundant, and my friends, I should say, were made redundant, and a group of us decided to go traveling. So we booked a round the world ticket, with the destination being Australia, and we were fairly cashed up. We got redundancy money, so I had a great time. Traveled through Thailand, Malaysia, Bali, and eventually got to Australia. I think fairly broke by that stage. I did have a good friend already in Australia who'd actually gone from Gateway via another route. So I'd moved in with him in Manly Beach. So you imagine it was a terrible time. I was 28 at this stage. Yeah, loved living in Manly for a while. His girlfriend at the time was actually a recruitment agent and was chasing me to hurry up and arrive from Thailand because she had a lineup of jobs working for me, contracts, I should say.
Great.
And yeah, as soon as I landed, I was sponsored with a
brilliant
contract working for IBM GSA.
So, the old saying is, it's not what you know, it's who you know to get a job. When I was before my own consulting business, I never really looked for a job ever. I was always sort of, someone always grabbed me on the shoulder and said, "Hey, come work with us," type thing. Yeah. So, it's awesome to hear that. Going from small companies and everything else to a big company like IBM, how did that transition?
Well, again, I was recruited as basically from my resume. Worked in tech support for Gateway, and obviously big multinational. This guy was running the lab effectively in the tech support section of Gateway in Dublin. So I landed in 3rd level server support. Again, I've hardly seen a server at this stage. Only the things we had at Corel, but 3rd level server support, and I think I'll figure it out on the job. I'll work my way up and figure it out. So I got some on the job training with a colleague of mine. I did courses. I did all of the Microsoft certifications, pretty much everything that was available, all the MCSE and Citrix, Metaframe certifications, and I'd spend a lot of time geeking out at home, learning and just absorbing and taking CBT nugget lessons and just taking every exam I could do for a while. And yeah, I did that for a year, 3rd level server support. And then they said, "Would you like another 12-month contract?" And I said, no, I'm going traveling. I've been in Australia, landed and got a job in my first week. And I'd just been hanging out at Manly Beach, which is great, but I wanted to see Australia's. I went up and again, very cashed up for a backpacker. So I do the backpacking, and then when I got sick of roughing it, I just booked myself into a nice hotel and we can go back on the Greyhound bus the next day. And I did the trip around Australia. It was really good. Obviously, at all this time, not knowing what I was going to be doing next, got back to Sydney, another contract. It was very different times then. Just the availability of contract work at a very good rate.
Yeah, times have changed definitely.
Yeah,
Nick,
that's right.
So from there, where did you go? What's next in your career?
The next was with, I want to say NRMA. To change the name.
But something like that.
Yeah, NRMA placement. Yeah, I'm not sure if basically, yeah, NRMA building in George Street in Sydney on the 10th floor. And again, it was one of these cushy contract jobs that really no one wanted to manage you, but you just there to fulfill a role. And it was a dedicated department that had their own server room, so I look after the servers again.
Sure. So all that learning that you've been doing at IBM and all these other contract roles and all the experience you had in the UK and Ireland and then in Australia, that gave you sort of a good foundation, I would think, to move into your own sort of environment and become your own boss. Is that really what happened, do you think?
Basically, I mean, I'd spend so much time sitting in a server room that I would be learning at the time, training myself on stuff that maybe wasn't related to the actual job, but I was, well, what am I going to do? Not wait for servers to crash and stuff. So I'd just learn what I need to take the certification and pick up as much as I could do. And eventually, I think I landed another contract with Alpha West, as they were then. They were purchased by Optus later on. And again, another contract job, learning VMware. And in fact, I remember in a meeting that they had, it was kind of a strange meeting. They were trying to decide on a direction to go. And I remember putting my hand up and saying, has anyone looked at VMware? Virtualization? This is, and I kind of knew it. I'd trained myself and everything. So and again, they were going unified communications and whatnot. But that was the time when, people just learning a little bit about what VMware could do. And it was VMware GSX that, I'd used before. And so the ESX was new, that hard to get hold of, and no one understood it. But again, I got the training for ESX and got my VCP and was one of the few VCPs knocking around. So again, at the education side of things, the self-learning as well, it wasn't all big companies paying for it. It was all
self-learning. Yeah,
absolutely. And so that Alpha West job was really how I got into the business myself. So there is a reason why I brought Alpha West, because there was a guy with white hair that used to come into the office every now and again, trying to sell a product called Double Take. And one of the managers at Alpha West looked at me as a contractor and say, what can we give you to do? Can you assess this Double Take product? Can you test it and see what it does? So I spent a bit of time learning Double Take and figured out, okay, I know what it does. But we never used it. We didn't actually get to the point of actually selling it. So this distributor that was coming around didn't really get any business, except for when I finished Alpha West. There was a point when they decided no more contractors after the Optus takeover, and we could go full time or we could leave. So I decided to leave. I was approached by Kelly von der Hayden, my business partner now.
Yeah.
Would like to talk to the owner of the distributor of the Double Take. So I did, and I got a position there as a pre-sales consultant. And again, that was another change. It was a breath of fresh air, getting out of the office a bit. But it was that first step into the distribution world where you're trying to convince resellers to look at your product, to use your product and sell it. And after a few years, again, it was a one product distributor.
Yep.
And the products obviously started to struggle. It got taken over by other venture capitalists, entities. And so that distributor died slowly as well. Myself and Kelly then decided we'll start up our Cloud Ready Solutions.
Right.
And approached a few vendors for distribution, where we didn't really get very far, but we were approached by a friend we had at CA Technologies, formerly been regional ANZ manager for Double Take themselves, and said, look, well, I'm at CA now. Do you want to look at our product? It's a lot like Double Take. And we had a good look at it and decided, this is great. We can do something with this. And we started initially as a reseller.
Yep.
Assisted with a fairly large sale for one of the banks to use that product to migrate on-prem to Amazon with zero downtime. So it was a great win. It was probably the biggest they'd done in the region for that particular product for CA. And eventually we became initially a sub-distributor, and then we were made a full distributor shortly after for CA. Very shortly after that, Arcserve spun out of CA. So obviously that was the Arcserve products. They spun out of CA as a standalone, as their own product. It's a management buyout. And we became the distributor for Arcserve for many years. And that was about 2014.
And how do you, so with Cloud Ready Solutions, you've got a unique model. Okay. So you've looked to see what the gap is, I suppose, in this region, in the region that you guys work, you and Kelly operate. And then you know what's sort of happening overseas, and you marry them up somehow. And then you bring these products to market. Can you just talk a bit about that whole process? Because it's quite an interesting process to go through, and why there is a need for people like, Cloud Ready Solutions.
Yeah, it's so obviously we spent a bit of time as a single vendor disty, and I didn't want to do that because I knew what happened in the past. So I spent a lot of time trying to find new vendors that didn't have a presence in Australia, because that's really where we specialize. If a vendor has staff here, then they're their priorities, and there's a bit of a conflict with how we can work together. So we've always looked at for vendors that don't really have a presence here. Often, I mean, for example, we've just come across new vendor that we've brought on board called Gladinet, and we were approached by one of our customers for a solution which was all about cloud sharing or access to file servers from anywhere.
Yep.
And be able to leverage the cloud and be able to basically provide a local drive letter to users around the world, that they have the drive letter they're familiar with, but their files are in the data center, in their corporate office, in the cloud, in S3, in Wasabi. But to them, it's just the drive. And we had to go looking for that solution. We found it, and it's available. And it's actually something that is in high demand. People who want an alternate to SharePoint, or maybe large companies that they're reaching the capacity limitations that they get for SharePoint Online. That's included in the subscription, because the costs for additional storage for Microsoft is horrendous. So why can't we use Wasabi, or why can't we use Amazon S3 storage or Azure storage? So that's the capability that we bring into the market now, and it's incredible the opportunities that are actually coming out of the pipeline.
Yeah, for sure. So who are your clients? Your clients are MSPs, or sometimes they're direct clients? How does it work?
No, MSPs, yes. So we've got various solutions that suit MSPs really well. Resellers, system integrators. We don't do direct business. We always go through the resellers, and I'm always have been well aware that that doesn't make the opportunities as profitable, and we're also relying on the resellers completing the sale. Yeah, but it means we're not competing against them in any way. Yeah, it's a channel business.
And the clients that the vendors that you bring on board, I suppose they're the ones that don't really want to invest in salespeople in this region.
Well, this is the key point, is that if to establish a business in Australia, they need to look at offices, they need to get staff, and the staff are not cheap in Australia. They're looking 10 to 20,000 per sales head, and it's a huge investment. And then they're up against the competition. It's immense competition before they even start. The way I look at it is that we're essentially a free resource, or free employees, if you like, for these vendors to establish something in Australia, and they support us as much as they can, and we represent them as best we can in the region. But mostly, when we talk to one of our established partners about a new technology or a new vendor, they've never heard of them. The partner hasn't had that reach. You can't really advertise or on LinkedIn and promote things from overseas if you're not here. The reach is so hard and so expensive.
Yeah. Okay, I understand that because there's different ways can go to market, different channels. You either go direct or you go through partners. What are the challenges working with partners? Because nothing's perfect, otherwise everyone will be going with partners or everyone going direct. So what are the challenges? Are they just too busy or they can't make decisions? What are the challenges with partner channel?
Well, the challenge is obviously there's lots of distributors or lots of vendors chasing them with similar solutions in many cases.
Okay.
Which again is why I would like to have something a little bit unique. I mean, I would say as well. I mean, recently we lost the Arcserve distribution, which was no surprise after so many years and the way that business is going. Thankfully, I mean, a lot of our partners have kind of pivoted with us and looking at our new vendors that we've brought on board. And a lot of our partners are, the individuals are our friends in many ways. We get on so well with so many of them that we have beers with them occasionally. We go to our friends in Fiji and drink kava with them, and we are always try to be as friendly as possible. I'm sure Kelly yourself. He's very personable, and everyone gets on with him. So the challenges of bringing on new partners, that is definitely much more of a challenge, and we find that we really are led when an opportunity comes to us that really fits one of our vendors perfectly, and then we establish the conversation with maybe the new reseller who's approached us and try and build that. But the establishing new partnerships, particularly in Australia, I find most challenging part of the business.
All right. That's great. So what are the trends that are currently happening in your sort of area? Because you're very niche, what's happening in the US and Europe, and you're bringing these solutions here. So what's coming down the road for us, if anything?
Well, in terms of SaaS, I think you'll find most businesses now are heavily invested in multiple SaaS platforms.
Mm-hmm.
So obviously your Office 365s, and you've got your Salesforce, Microsoft Dynamics, and you've got your Jira and Confluence and Zendesk and whatever. Everyone's using SaaS-based platforms. We are heavily focused on currently in offering backup solutions for SaaS platforms. So we've got a new partnership with Keepit as the first distributor in the region for Keepit, and we're busy educating our current partners and driving our current partners on board to look at Keepit, to sign up as MSPs for Keepit or resellers for Keepit. So that's something we've got a major focus on. The file sharing, cloud file sharing service, that's something that we're looking at doing as a service for small business. So we've actually created an entity called UFS Connect, ufsconnect.com, where people can sign up and have the global or universal file sharing service as a service, a monthly subscription, but also we can offer the corporate solution as well for larger businesses that might want to deploy it in their own infrastructure.
Okay. So let's just go through it as an example. Why would a small business use that product, and how easy is it to get it running and use it, I suppose?
Well, I think for a small business, it's a case of like, where are the files? Where's the data that they want, and where do you want to use it? So if they've got an office, usually there's a file server. So they're going, okay, how do I get to it? Do I need to run a VPN? You've got to manage your VPNs. It's slow. It's clunky.
Yep.
Whereas with the UFS solution, UFS Connect solution, it's just a drive letter. It's just to start the computer. The files are there straight away, and it doesn't matter where they are. They could be in Amazon, in Wasabi, on their local file server in their office. To them, they're just on the drive letter.
So it's like a OneDrive that follows you around, basically, with different systems underneath that, different sources.
That's right. It's you can think of it as a OneDrive alternate or a SharePoint alternate. It's fairly interesting.
Yeah, I think that's a really good idea, because the challenge, small businesses have, they've got either Microsoft, Google Drive, whatever it is.
Yep.
And then they're always running out of space. And then they've got files, I suppose, that they are working with their clients, heavy duty size files, if they're architects or legal or something like that. There's a lot of data that gets out of control in no time.
It can be used to modernize your file share. So you've got a file share in the office, and its disk might be hitting capacity. You can actually set it up just to migrate it to the cloud, and you just start pulling those files from the cloud as if it was your normal file server. It doesn't really, So that's an interesting one. Obviously, AI. I've been into AI for a while. I know you have as well. So it's, the rate of change and capabilities in AI is ridiculous. I mean, even 6 months ago, could you imagine thinking and looking at the chat GPT agents in GPT-5?
Crazy, isn't it? Yeah.
I mean, what can they not do? And where are we going to be in the future?
Yeah. Look, it's a big question that everyone's asking. And, my daughter who's finishing her HSC this year, she's trying to look at which degree to go and study. And I said, just do anything. It doesn't matter. Because I don't know what you'll be doing in 3 years' time, 4 years' time. So, so just get a degree and we'll work out afterwards what's happening.
You've got to learn AI, but like you say, it's the rate of change is so fast. What we're learning today in priming, I remember the priming training and stuff that people have done 6 months ago. It kind of almost seems irrelevant now. And now I just ask ChatGPT how I should ask it to do something.
Yeah. Well, look, I saw this morning, when I got up early this morning, that in China, they've made it compulsory for everyone, I think it was 8 or 6 years old, to have like 10 days of AI training every year at that young age, because they've wanted to ingrain it into the way they work and how they can use it to do better. So I think it's going to be really interesting over the next year or two, because as everything goes through a process of people learning and doing things, it'll open up. And there was another stat that I was reading on the papers about 2 days ago, that when one of the breaks in the colleges in the US all went on a break, GPT just dropped.
Yes.
Usage.
Yep.
And it was saying, because these people are actually using it. Okay, people that are university or and it's quite amazing, because the large enterprise do take time they lag behind some of those innovators, and they will take time to catch up. But it's the workforce that actually drives it forward, and that workforce that's coming through the university system over the next 2-3 years will actually drive it even faster.
Yeah. I also saw in the UK last week, they released the GCSE results.
Yeah.
It was the worst ever. I said, oh, it's because you can't use ChatGPT in the exam.
That's right.
Could be that. I don't know.
So that's it. So what do you think, this model that you have, is it sustainable going forward, or is it a niche that you think it will always be there? What's your thoughts on your business model as such?
I think our business model is probably about right for distribution, because we're small. I've looked in the past at these bigger companies with all these employees, and obviously when we had the COVID situation a few years ago, and we survived because it was just us. So we were like, okay, we don't have a team of people to pay. We don't have massive salaries. We've got, a few contractors effectively that work for us overseas in Philippines and in Australia, but we're very, very lean. And again, we're working really closely with a small number of vendors as an additional resource for them in the country. That works well. Now, can we be replaced by AI? Like you say, I think everything will be replaced by AI eventually, apart from maybe hairdressers, chefs, maybe.
Sure, for sure.
Hospitality.
Look, I think your business model is spot on. It's niche, specialized, and you focus on an outcome, and you can pivot because you are, agile to pivot. I think where I worry about these large companies that have a lot of people that are tech focused, how do they pivot with so much changing over a period of time? And it's quite interesting, because the stock market in the US at the current time is on these big software companies that actually haven't kept up with the rest of the market in the last year, and because they are ripe for change, and they think AI could actually eat some of their market share. So there's a lot of these big software companies that haven't progressed, but there's others that are going up, like 20% this year, and some have gone down 15%. It's quite interesting.
Yeah, absolutely. AI is amazing. Yeah, I think the future, it's a little bit scary.
Okay, let's go back into business model. Services. Do you guys do services, or you just help the resellers sell the software, or do you actually go in there every now and then and help them through a demo, or what's the process around that?
We used to be very heavy on services. And again, that would all eventually fall back to me. I never managed to replicate myself in that kind of technical resource. We did have tech support engineers that would man the phones and deal with tickets coming in, but we were no longer obligated to provide tech support for the vendors. So we do pre-sales support and we do demonstrations, we do proof of concepts, but we prefer that the professional service is done by the resellers themselves. So it's part of the task is to get them themselves certified or able to do the work, and use us as a kind of consultancy, paid consultancy. We don't charge our for our pre-sales efforts. I've got one or two legacy clients that we have support for. I'm not sure how long we'll keep that up for, but that's just been a long-term kind of arrangement. And some of the MSPs that kind of were not interested in being a specialist in backup, we look after some of their deployments as well.
MSPs going forward, how do you think they survive, if everything? Do you think their model will be challenged themselves, the smaller type MSPs?
I think some of the MSPs are going to be okay. And some of the ones that they offer value to clients and convey that they're offering that value. I think others are always going to struggle. Things, obviously, I've mentioned SaaS before. People are moving to SaaS platforms, and a lot of the MSP's role is automated and taken care of by the SaaS platform. So yeah, I think some MSPs will survive and some won't. I don't think it's not a business I would want to get into.
Yeah, it's going to be, I think, a difficult one because as you know, traditionally, software companies don't want to do the services and they're trying to make the product as simple as possible. But as we know, that becomes complex. There's complexity with those when those things happen. So, will it always be around? Yes, it definitely will always be around, but I think it'd be less and less of the MSPs personally. But we'll only know in the next couple of years and see how that goes. So,
absolutely. Yeah. And also the MSPs that are functioning, who are they going to employ? Because you've got the AI chatbots that can do
for sure
so much of the tech support stuff now. And the same goes for doctors and everyone.
Sure.
I'd like to say the doctors in the UK that are striking again are on a thin wicket, I think, in terms of, if, just launch an AI service and that's your doctor gone.
For sure. I think
not far away.
No, I think next 6 months we'll see that. Anything that you would like to leave, think about any of the challenges you've had in the past or anything that you got over in the last couple of years?
Well, we are, like I say, we're pivoting. We have pivoted heavily away from being the Arcserve distributor. Again, we were for a while a single vendor and acting as their employees. And then they merged with StorageCraft and suddenly had employees in the country. So we weren't seen as being so valuable for them anymore. Yeah, having multiple vendors that appreciate your purpose is key for us.
Yep. Good.
And of course, they need to be raising revenue. They need to have a product that is required, is sellable, is profitable. And really, we need to be sure that we focus our efforts in the right areas for the right vendors and with the right partners. The shotgun approach doesn't really work in terms of bringing revenue in, but we've got a few vendors that have amazing class-leading products that the resellers can sell. They understand the end user businesses need, even if they don't know what it is yet.
Yeah, perfect. Well, thanks for your time today, Nick. I appreciate it. It's always good chatting to you. And I hope you and Kelly at Cloud Ready Solutions keep on helping out those vendors and those MSP providers to make sure that they provide a great service to their clients as well. So thanks very much.
Thanks, Ian. Keep well.
Thanks, Todd.
Thanks for joining us on IT Mastermind Talks. Don't miss out on our next episode. Hit the follow button and stay updated. Want to be our next podcast guest? Contact us and share your expertise with our audience. Visit www.itmastermindtalks.com for more information.